All right. As these Zios lose the public relations battle, they're getting increasingly mask off and really just revealing the rawest form of their essentially genocidal philosophy. Sarah Hurwitz has been just dropping banger after banger after banger. She was a speechwriter for Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, and Barack Obama. Also, Sarah Hurwitz is an actual monster, according to our friend Professor Zenkis, who compares young people who are against the Gaza genocide to right-wing white supremacists. Josh Shapiro did the same thing. This line of thinking is racist. It's Islamophobic. Democrats should be calling her out. Instead, they're lining up to hire her for their next campaign. She is really pulling the curtain back on the kinds of ghouls that infest the Democratic Party. You want to understand why Kamala Harris's platform in regards to Israel was not very much different from Trump's? It really wasn't, which is why we did not vote for her, needless to say. Sarah Hurwitz is really breaking it down. So here's a banger that she laid down comparing the right-wing theory of Jewry with left-wing opposition to genocide.
Are Christianizing the Roman Empire. Who's stopping us? Those Jews who won't convert. We, the communists, are bringing about the great brotherhood of man and the revolution. And who's stopping us? These capitalist Jews. We, the Germans, are bringing about the great Aryan, racially pure fatherland. Who's stopping us? Race-polluting Jews. Today in America, you see it on the right and the left. On the right, it is we.
Like, she does know that a lot of the founding communists were Jews, right? Of the period that she's talking about here, like contemporaneous with the rise of Hitler, but had a lot of Jews in the Communist Party. Okay.
White Christian Americans are bringing back white Christian civilization. The only thing stopping us, these Jews who are importing black and brown immigrants to replace white people. That is,
you do know that the most fanatical Zionists in the country are Christian evangelicals like Mike Huckabee, who just let a convicted spy into the embassy. You do know that, right?
is the bonkers Great Replacement conspiracy, which I'm like, is it more racist or more anti-Semitic? I don't know. I think it's kind of equal. And then on the left, you have, we, the great moral majority, are doing anti-racism and anti-colonialism, and the only thing stopping us are these racist colonialist Zionists, aka Jews.
Right. Well, yeah.
And, Dara Holmes.
No. You do not speak for us. You do not represent Jews. It is not aka Jews. You know what? Me and Keaton are very welcome and beloved in the pro-Palestine community across the board. We get some of the warmest thank yous that we get are from Muslims living in the Middle East. So no, it's not Jews. It's Zionists. It's not AKA. It's Zionists.
Lauren, who's brilliant, I quote all the time, she says, if you think there are sides here, you don't understand what's happening. It's the same thing on both sides. It just takes on slightly different, language and form. It's so easy to say, well, left wing's the problem, the right wing's the problem. Right. But if you actually look at the two of them, the tropes are kind of the same.
Right.
The right is saying that Jews are doing a white genocide, and the left is saying they're doing a genocide in Gaza. It's like the same. It's like very similar tropes.
So what you're saying
is
it's the Goyim.
Really not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So what you're really saying is it's the Goyim who are the problem. It's not the left or the right. It's everyone who's not Jewish who sees Israel for what it is.
Yeah,
That's what that sounds like to me.
It's the Goys and the Muslims.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
And as if there is not a sizable number of Jews that some of the most prominent voices in the space, like Max Blumenthal, like Aaron Mate, like Norm Finkelstein, are fucking Jewish.
Right.
That she elides. It's Katie Halper here says, Sarah Hurwitz is such a gift. She shows instead of tells. So many of us try to explain the weaponization of the Holocaust to justify genocide, and she just does it in real time. She does.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something else that I've noticed, especially around the Mamdani campaign in New York and these ghouls like Sid Rosenberg and Michael Rappaport. Zionists are generally also rabid neoliberal capitalist conservatives, even when they consider themselves liberal. Like they're viciously right wing. Like their politics could best be described on the liberal side that Sarah Hurwitz represents. It's the politics of Atlantic Magazine. That's
Right.
really their economics, and those things very much come together. And she very effectively illustrates that in this monologue.
Basic breakdown of liberalism, right? And this is like, there are no more sides. When they're like, well, this side is this, there's no sides, okay? There's basically kind of people across the spectrum now are doing kind of the same thing. Like Mamdani's idea of like, look, you're taking away money from really good, struggling folks here at home to give it to fund American, Israeli apartheid. Kind of same vibe as America First, right? You're taking good money at home, you're using it to give it to these powerful Jews. So like, to see both parts of the world kind of
Okay. So once again, setting aside the way she keeps trying to tie together Jews, Zionism, a state with a religion and a culture. Okay, setting that aside, why would Americans who are struggling want their money to go overseas to this foreign country? Why would they?
Right.
Like what case are you making? She just saying it in a tone like that's crazy. She doesn't actually give you any reason why would that be crazy?
Well, right.
Sure.
She acts like it's weird that both right wingers and left wingers don't want to see American dollars that could be put to use here go to Israel. No, the fact that both left wingers and right wingers agree on that should be evidence of how fucking obvious it is that money should not be going to Israel. Right?
Well,
Like that's
and in
evidence
my
of how of how obvious a point it is.
and in my experience, it is very rare that somebody holds that opinion who doesn't also hold that opinion about Ukraine.
Right. Right.
People who have that opinion generally are skeptical of the way we are applying American dollars to overseas adventurism.
Right.
focusing in on that. And I know Spamberger one, I know Marky Sherrill one. That's very heartening to me. Those are my Democrats.
Oh, I'm
but
sure
I
they
also
are.
worry
Those are
that
your
in
Democrats.
some number of years, when millions of college-educated Americans are out of work because of AI, they're going to feel as aggrieved as a lot of working-class folks who are out of work because of globalization. And like these are people.
Okay, so this is great. This is great. So she's right here. She's right. And we're seeing that, and we've talked about this. Yeah, did all of a sudden like middle class and upper middle class kids get better politics just because? Or is it because the system's not working for them anymore? So they're starting to have the kinds of concerns
Sure.
that the deindustrialized heartland has had since NAFTA. Yeah, absolutely. But according to Hurwitz, that would be wrong for them to try to do something different.
Who, they spent tens of thousands of dollars to get an education. They did everything right. They're going to be unemployed. And I kind of think that Mamdani message of like, it's because of the Jews and here's some free stuff and bad policy ideas. Like, I think that's going to be pretty appealing.
What? Yeah, no, that's what he's saying. That's what he ran on. In the city with the largest Jewish population on earth outside of Israel, yeah, that's what he ran on. Blame the Jews. That's how he won. That's how he won, because he ran on blame the Jews. That's why he kept fucking Zionist maniac Jessica Tisch as his police commissioner, because he's running on blame the Jews. And then she just tosses off. This is what I mean. It's Zionism is very fused with these people in this neoliberal fantasy that what they're doing is working. Yeah, and bad policy. Okay, so what have you offered? Good policy?
Right.
Your ideas have been good policy? You yourself are describing how bad things are going to get for people.
Yeah.
So what are you offering an alternative? Are you offering a different solution?
No, they just take that as a given. They take as a given the virtue of Zionism and the virtue of neoliberalism. It's like when you learn to do proofs in math in like junior high, they teach you proofs. and every proof, a geometric proof, starts with a given. Okay, given line A and line B are parallel. You don't have to prove they're parallel. We're going to give you that so that sets up the logic puzzle that you have to solve the rest of. They take as a given Zionism is good and neoliberalism is good. That's a given. We don't ever have to prove
those
that.
things go together.
Right. And we don't ever have to substantiate that. Yeah.
To a lot of college-educated folks, and I think Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are going to be really appealing, especially to younger people. So, like, you know, maybe this won't happen. Maybe the sane normies will win out. I don't know, but that's not, you know, social media is a global medium. You used to get your news, if you were in America, from American news sources. Like, you had to go to a really weird bookstore to find Al Jazeera, but now your phone will just send that to your kid's brain, and that's where our young people are getting their news. And so I don't know. I don't see a lot of sane.
And this is a running theme for her. We can't control the information people get the way we used to, and that's the problem. That's the problem. They shouldn't have access to any information that people with my beliefs don't get to gatekeep.
Right.
Normie input coming at especially younger people. So I don't see how we get ourselves out of this. Not to be negative or anything.
I mean, you could stop murdering
Israel,
people.
though,
That's
like,
one way
unlike
to
my
get yourself
bubby,
out
I
of
mean,
it.
No, this is the best. This is the best. Unlike her bubby, we have Israel to go to.
Like, unlike my bubby, I mean, how scary were the 1930s without Israel? My bubby must have been terrified. But look, we have Israel. It's great.
So Benjamin, this is.
Who the fuck is your bubby? I never even heard. What is bubby?
It should be her grandmother.
Is that a Yiddish term for bubby?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never heard that.
Yeah. No, the idea that maybe there is, and I don't question that there is rising anti-Semitism, because Israel has made the propositions of anti-Semites a lot more credible to people, many of whom had never thought that way before.
Right.
You've opened up a big lane for people who were actually anti-Semitic to say, so maybe the Austrian painter wasn't so crazy, huh? Look at what they do. Look at what those people do, right? That she will never consider. So here's Max and Aaron. Oh, hang on. Actually, there's one other thing from her we want to play first. So she did a whole thing about how, and this is her first clip that went viral earlier this week, was very similar. That the problem is that the kids are seeing carnage. And what's kind of interesting is that she's not denying the carnage. A lot of Zionists will deny the carnage. Her argument is they're seeing the carnage without gatekeeping to justify the carnage. They're seeing it raw, unfiltered, without narrative management. And that should not be allowed.
During a post-literate society, and if like all day long your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage in Gaza, then like you're talking, and like, I'm sorry if this is a graphic thing to say, but like when I'm trying to make arguments in favor, for Israel, I realize I'm talking through a wall of dead children. Like, that's what people are seeing. So when I'm like, yeah, but it's 1.5 civilians they're just seeing carnage.
But
right?
that's the emotional blackmail.
I mean, fair enough, but like,
we'll get
again,
to this guy in a bit.
I mean, that's nice, but like, again, I'm hearing that through a wall of screaming children. It's like, I think it's a harder argument than we're understanding. So I actually really strongly think that like Jewish day schools should absolutely say no child owns a smartphone until senior year. They don't own one at all. Period.
Wow.
We give it to them senior year and we teach them. Like this whole not during the day, great, nice start. No smartphone at all until senior year. Dumb phone, sure. Like, but I think that we've got to like give our kids' brains a chance and their mental health a chance before they start getting really warped.
That's great for their mental health. Brainwash them into a murderous ideology, and then when they're 18, give them a phone so they can learn everything you told them was a lie. I think that's what they did to Bryce Dallas Howard's character in that M. Night Shyamalan movie. What was it? The Village? He takes her into the shed. He's like, here. Spoiler if you haven't seen it. It's not a very good movie, but spoiler, he takes her into the shed and he says, hey, these creatures are fake. These are us disguised as creatures to scare the townspeople and to never go into the woods. That's what she's advocating doing to these Jewish kids. Hide the truth from them and then tell them when they're 18, by the way, we brainwashed you into Nazism. Yeah, that's good for their mental health. That's a great plan.
Yeah, well, this is very much like Scientology. That's why Max Blumenthal, I believe he coined the term Ziotology. They're
Yeah.
Ziotologists. It's yeah, they if you're raised in Scientology, you're not allowed to use the internet because they don't want them to find out about what people actually say about Scientology. Um, so, and a lot of them grow up and they find out. So yeah, that's just incredible. So uniquely, people who go to Jewish schools would just not be on the internet, I guess, because just not having a smartphone's not enough. What
Right.
about when they get home? If you give them access to the internet, I'm not aware yet of any parental filter that will block out all honest reporting on Israel. So how are you going to keep them from that? So
Right.
there's Max and Aaron had a pretty good commentary on this.
Walls of dead children are not a problem. The problem is that young Jews are being affected by seeing it, or what does she call it, having their brains smashed by TikTok. She keeps saying their brains are being smashed. And she wants them to basically be held in a kind of Amish colony.
Yeah.
And they don't get their Rumspringer till they're seniors, and then they can experience the internet where they can see all the dead children that have been caused by their ideology.
Well, the irony is that's what people like her need. They need to be put in some kind of, I'm sorry to use the term, re-education, de-radicalization scenario.
Yeah.
That can deprogram their fanatical brains. I mean, if they did that, the world would be a better place. So what they're prescribing for everybody else, for children to be, walled off from facts, they need a version of that for themselves to have their fanatical Zionism deprogrammed and de-radicalized.
We call them vocational centers.
Sure, yeah. These are the most radical. These are the most dangerous radicals in the world. The people at the highest levels of power, who control powerful institutions, who are able to censor people who have dissenting views, who still shape policy and government, who lament the fact that young people feel sad about seeing massacred young children in Gaza. I mean, this is fanaticism at its peak, but yet, unlike fringe movements, these people are in power and they're openly going around to conferences and talking about what a problem it is that we don't have censorship in this country and that people feel empathy for Palestinians.
Yeah, this is part of what is so revealing about Hurwitz, and I think part of why these clips are getting so much attention. Ironically, because Zionists have been so fond for so long of the article that spawned the phrase the banality of evil, that they're completely blind to the fact that they're demonstrating it in real time. This is like your annoying lib neighbor, right? But if you look at what she thinks, she's a fucking genocidal psycho. And these people are in the government. These people have high ranking positions in the government, and they're perfectly plain. They're perfectly innocuous, and they're perfectly capable of enabling monstrous genocide and of justifying it and kind of ignoring it as incidental to a greater moral purpose, right? She acknowledges there's this carnage, but it doesn't mean what you think it means.
Right. Yep.
So here she is, completely mischaracterizing, as all Zionists do, the meaning of from the river to the sea.
Sometimes get this weird gaslighting where people say, oh, okay, Sarah, you're saying that college kids can't criticize Israel. Well, look at you censoring free speech. I'm like, I would love people to be criticizing Israel. I would love them to be having a debate. But, from water to water, Palestine shall be Arab. That's not criticism anymore.
That's not
than
what it
from
said.
water.
Yeah, that's literally not the phrase. And
water.
isn't that revealing that you weren't able to use the phrase to make
Yeah.
your argument, that you had to translate what it means to you and to people who are similarly indoctrinated?
Water to water, Israel shall be Jewish is criticism. It's eliminationism. It's that's not a criticism. Jews are Israelis are Nazis is no more a criticism than Palestinians are terrorists. Those are just racist, disgusting things to say. I don't care who's saying them. That's not criticism.
Okay, you don't care who's saying it. All right. So Here, the poster comments. She is very dishonest. The slogan is Palestine shall be free. She makes things up to fit into. They don't like Israel not because of its genocide and apartheid, but because they are anti-Semitic. Yes, but hey, I am really looking forward to her banger where she attacks the Likud party. This is from the Jewish Virtual Library. This is not from Nick Fuentes's House of Footlongs. The right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, Eretz Israel. This is from the Likud party platform, their original platform. This is Netanyahu's party. A, the right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel is eternal and indisputable and is linked with the right to security and peace. Therefore, Judea and Samaria will not be handed to any foreign administration. Between the sea and the Jordan, there will only be Israeli sovereignty. So I am very much looking forward to Sarah Hurwitz's lengthy diatribe about the racism of the Israeli ruling party. And, just for good measure, we should read Part B here. A plan which relinquishes parts of Western Eretz Israel undermines our right to the country, unavoidably leads to the establishment of a Palestinian state, jeopardizes the security of the Jewish population, endangers the existence of the state of Israel, and frustrates any prospect of peace. So that sounds pretty genocidal, man. That sounds pretty genocidal. They're saying that from the river to the sea must be under their administration, and they expressly say one of the reasons they must do that is because they must avoid a Palestinian state. So how do you avoid a Palestinian state based on this formulation? You have to drive the Palestinians out of that territory, right? And
Yes,
in
that is
order for it
elimination.
to be governed by Israel. So I didn't hear her mention that in that little diatribe. So here's Jonah Platt. He was the person interviewing her at the beginning. I know Sarah Hurwitz in real life, not from a clip on social media. She is a thoughtful, inclusive, compassionate
Yeah.
person of great empathy and integrity, whose books have been a profound gift to many, myself included. Sometimes the internet just sucks. Yeah, like when it gives an income to people like you.
Yeah, the old "you had to be there" defense.
Yeah, being Jewish with Jonah Platt. I can't believe this guy is defending her genocidal, racist rants. Josh Olson has a pretty good clap back here. When your friend says the most objectively monstrous shit imaginable in front of an audience, in front of a camera, and people recoil in abject horror and revulsion, they're not the problem. No, they are not, but Josh Platt is part of the problem. That's why he had her on his show comparing communism and fascism and saying they're all anti-Semites. The people who want to make sure that you have free health care are exactly the same as the people who want to drag empanada makers off the street and stick them in CCOT. But that's what I mean, man. For these people, it's very revealing that if you talk to Zionists, they tend to be extremely right wing, whether of a liberal variety right wing as she is. I'm sure she's all for the multi-gender sports and bathrooms. I'm sure she's all good with all those things. While at the same time, she's also all good with genocide. And then you have the MAGA version of that gets very upset about the tampons in the boys' room. But in the end, they basically have the same economic and political philosophy. This is why, at the end of the day, most votes, they pretty much vote the same way, particularly when it comes to militarism, national security. This is why, even if you get Democrats back in, they're not going to undo much of what Trump did any more than Obama undid much of what Bush did. In the end, they represent the same people. It's just a different approach to bringing people into this ideology. She represents a liberal approach that at this point, because of generational differences, is kind of collapsing within the Democratic Party. That's a lot of what the rise of Mamdani represents. Within MAGA, it's collapsing too. A lot of that collapse is generational, and that is part of what the rise of Nick Fuentes represents. Like, there are some truths sprinkled in there, but she's very dishonestly conflating anti-Semitism, which does exist. It's out there, but it's really been fanned by Israel. And she's conflating that with free healthcare, as they always do. It's just another variation on what they did with Bernie, right? Well, you're a racist. What do you mean? What do you mean he's a racist? Well, because I don't think that a Latino woman is by definition better if her policies are bad.
Right. Yeah, and just obviously the water. It's amazing how she quotes that as if that's even a real phrase. That's not even from water to water. Palestine will be Arab. Who says nobody's? I've never heard anybody.
Right.
She was the first
No.
person
She's
I ever
saying
heard say
that's
that.
what it really means.
Yeah. Well, that's of course that's not what it means. When they say Palestine will be free, that means equal rights for everybody.
No, she's saying that's what it really means. That's what they're really saying.
Well, it's interesting because what that is when the Zionists say that, which oddly enough, it's a Zionist phrase, from the river to the sea. That's what the Israeli flag is. The two blue lines on the Israeli flag represent the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea.
Right.
And so when they say from the river to the sea, what they mean is something very much eliminationist, right? And it's actually the anti-Zionists who say, no, Palestine will be free means Jews and Arabs have equal rights on this land, just like they did before Zionism.
Please clap.